place online.
And with kids heading back to school, now's a good time to refresh discussions about cyber safety. Here were some proactive ideas to empower our kids against online bullies. Is Jennifer Flanagan, CEO of Actua, Canada's largest science and technology outreach organization. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you.
All right, let's dive right in.
Yes.
So many parents, obviously all of us, are so concerned about online bullying. What are the first steps we should take if we notice this type of action?
So first, important to note that cyber safety is part of a larger digital literacy skill set. So we know, we've heard how important digital skills are for youth. And this is really part of it. This is what Actua does across the country, making sure that kids not only are using technology, but understand how it works. And that's how you keep them safe. So the first thing, and parents are understandably anxious, right? We all feel that anxiety. I certainly do. And a lot of that comes from the stories that we're hearing in the media, some of the terrible things that have happened, plus a lot of us didn't grow up in a digital space, right? So we're intimidated. And what happens is parents kind of either turn a blind eye to this and kind of cross their fingers and hope it goes well, or they put in heavy restrictions, right? So that doesn't set them up well for having good cyber safety with their kids, having good conversations. So the first thing is relax. Know that there are resources out there to help you, because I think a lot of parents just feel like paralyzed. And so we say, okay, there's a lot of basic things you can do with your kids to actually
because you know what you just said a second ago, I think is really eye-opening for a lot of folks. This is uncharted territory, not only for kids but for parents as well. None of us grew up with this, and we're all trying to kind of navigate and find our way.
Right. So kids are using these apps. They're in environments that we're not familiar with. So the first thing that we need to make clear is that this is a discussion that parents should be having with their kids. As soon as they have devices in their hand, we want to be talking to them about what they're doing online, who they're talking to, do they see anything that's of concern to them, and we want to do it in a way where they feel safe coming to us if things go off the rails. So we want them to know that they can trust that we're not going to rush to judgment. We're not going to overreact. We're not going to take their device away.
Right?
Exactly.
Yes.
And a lot of what we see in the research is that kids don't disclose problems online because they're afraid of getting in trouble themselves.
All right, so you're saying start talking about this before you even see the online bullying.
Absolutely. So the earlier you start talking about it in an ongoing way, and this is perfect. We're going back to school. Kids are, we're getting back into routine. So now is the time to sit down and say, okay, let's refresh here. The kids are going to be coming home with those forms that you've probably seen, the digital contract for school, the rules, and that's where you have to also make sure that that's happening at home.
Let's talk about rules. Should we set them at home with the kids? And if so, what rules should we set?
Absolutely. So 100%, there should be some rules, some guidelines, parameters, just as there are at school, which I think a lot of us just see that form and kind of, with the other dozen forms, sign it. But it's really important that there's a set of age-appropriate rules. And those are, there's some great templates online. If you search cyber safe home rules, excellent tools there. But basic things like helping your kids set safe passwords. I mean, how many of us are still setting passwords that are not secure? So setting those passwords, not sharing those passwords with anyone, not disclosing personal information. One of the things that a lot of problems sort of result from is stranger interactions online. And so one of the rules that I say, without a doubt, is you do not interact with people online that you don't know in real life. And parents are often surprised by that, because a lot of the apps and video games that our kids are using have a social component. So a lot of parents aren't aware that they can actually be interacting with strangers online through the video games that they're playing.
So how do parents monitor that? I mean, are you a proponent of the computer, the phone has got to be in a common area, like in the kitchen when the kids are using them?
So again, it's knowing what they're doing. So I talk about this all the time, and this has happened to me with my own kids, where I wasn't aware that an app, a voice recording app, had that social component. So now my general guideline is, if my kids are using apps, I either am using them as well, so I'm not obviously playing with them the same way, but I have downloaded them, I've looked at them, I've gone and done a quick search on what is on that app. So you don't want to be looking over their shoulder all the time, right? That's not conducive to them being empowered.
But do your due diligence, right?
Do your due diligence. And what I want parents to know is that the due diligence it's not a huge heavy lift. It's going on and looking at a 2-minute video on an app just to understand what the potential dangers are. Because at the end of the day, we want to know that they are out in the world. just as they're out in the world, you know, without us, we want to know that they're out in the online world able to understand when and there's a potential risk, and if things go off the rails, that they come to you right away and say, here's what's happened, and that we all understand that that's how mistakes, you know, that's how we learn in the real world. We got to make a bunch of mistakes. That's going to happen online as well, and we need to be there supporting them if it does happen.
Great advice, Jennifer Flanagan. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll take a short break here on The Morning Show. Stay with us.